Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to A1 English Podcast, the show where we talk about real English, real life, and real progress.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Jessica. And today, honestly, we're talking about a question that almost every single English learner asks at some point.
Okay, but before we jump in, quick reminder. If you're serious about improving your English naturally, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Yes, please do that, because when you subscribe, you're not just supporting us, you're really supporting your own English journey too.
All right, so today's question is this. How long does it actually take to become fluent in English?
Oh, this is such a big one. I think almost every learner has typed this exact question into Google at least once.
Same here. And honestly, most of the answers online are either way too vague, like "it depends," or way too unrealistic, like "fluent in 30 days."
Right, and both of those answers are kind of useless if we're being honest.
So today, we want to give you the honest timeline. No hype, no false promises, just real talk based on how language learning actually works.
By the end of this episode, you'll know roughly how long it takes, what actually affects your speed, and what you can do right now to move faster.
Not perfect English, not overnight, but a real, honest picture.
So let's start easy. No stress, no confusing grammar talk.
Just real conversation, real answers, real English.
Okay, Jack, let me ask you something first. When you started learning a second language, did you ever imagine a specific date? Like, in 6 months, I will be fluent.
Oh, all the time. I remember setting these really unrealistic goals for myself and then feeling terrible when I didn't hit them.
Exactly. And that's how so many learners feel. They set a deadline, the deadline passes, and they feel like they failed.
But here's the thing. The problem isn't the learner. The problem is the question itself is a little bit broken.
What do you mean by that?
Well, how long to become fluent assumes fluency is one single moment, like a finish line you cross.
Right. Like one day you wake up and suddenly you're fluent.
Exactly. But that's not how it works at all. Fluency is actually a long road with many stages, and you become more fluent little by little.
So, in simple words, fluency isn't a switch that turns on. It's more like a dimmer light that slowly gets brighter.
That's a great way to put it. And once you understand that, the whole question changes.
Instead of asking, when will I be fluent, a better question is, what does fluent even mean for me?
Exactly. Because fluent for a tourist ordering food is very different from fluent for a business professional in a meeting.
Good point. So before we give any numbers, let's quickly define what we mean by fluency in this episode.
Sure, let's keep it simple. Fluency means you can understand and speak comfortably in real time without translating every sentence in your head.
It doesn't mean zero mistakes. It doesn't mean sounding exactly like a native speaker.
It just means the words come out naturally and the conversation flows.
And honestly, even native speakers make grammar mistakes, forget words, and pause mid-sentence sometimes. So we shouldn't hold ourselves to an impossible standard either.
Great point. Fluency is really about communication working smoothly, not about hitting some imaginary perfect score.
Okay, now that we agree on that, let's talk numbers, because I know that's what everyone is waiting for.
Actually, before the exact hours, let's quickly walk through the stages, because fluent actually covers a huge range.
Good idea. Let's use the common level system most schools use, from A1 all the way to C2.
At A1, the beginner stage, you can introduce yourself, order food, and understand very simple, slow sentences.
At A2, you can handle basic daily conversations, but you still think in your own language and translate a lot in your head.
At B1, this is where things start to feel real. You can hold a conversation about familiar topics, even if you still make mistakes and search for words sometimes.
Honestly, I'd say B1 is the point where most people would already call themselves conversational.
At B2, you can discuss more abstract topics, follow fast native speech most of the time, and express opinions with reasonable ease.
This is usually the level people actually mean when they say fluent in everyday conversation.
And then C1 and C2 are advanced and near native levels, where you can debate, joke, and work professionally almost entirely in English.
So when someone asks, how long until I'm fluent, the honest answer really depends on which of these levels they actually mean.
Exactly. Reaching B1 takes far less time than reaching C1, and that difference matters a lot. All right, let's talk about the first key point, and this is really important. There are official research-based estimates for how long languages take to learn.
Yes, and this comes from language institutes that train diplomats and professionals, so it's not just a random guess.
Right. For English specifically, if a learner studies consistently, real conversational comfort, roughly that B1 to B2 level we just talked about, often takes somewhere around 600 to 750 hours of focused study and practice.
And if your goal is that more advanced, near-native C1 level, you're realistically looking at well over 1,200 hours.
So the timeline really does depend on your personal goal. A tourist level A2 might only need 150 to 200 hours.
While a professional, business-level C1 could take more than 1.5 years of consistent daily effort, even for a motivated learner. Let me give you a real-life example so this feels less like a scary number.
Please, go ahead.
Imagine you study English for 1 hour every single day, 5 days a week.
Okay, I'm listening.
At that pace, you'd reach around 600 hours in roughly 2.5 years.
And if you double that, studying 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, you could reach that same milestone in around 15 months.
See? It's not magic, it's math. More consistent hours simply means less calendar time.
Exactly. Now, many learners make this mistake. They say, I studied English for 10 years in school. Why am I not fluent?
Ugh, I hear that all the time, and it's such a fair frustration.
The problem with that thinking is that 10 years of occasional grammar exercises is not the same as focused, active hours.
So the honest correction is, it's not about the years passing. It's about the real active hours of listening, speaking, reading, and using the language.
Exactly. 2 years of daily focused practice will beat 10 years of passive classroom exposure almost every single time.
Let's give another example to make this even clearer.
Good idea.
Think about 2 learners. Learner A studies grammar rules silently from a book for 1 hour a week. Learner B speaks with a partner, listens to podcasts, and writes short journal entries for 1 hour a day.
In this situation, learner B will very likely become conversational years faster than learner A.
And notice how the difference isn't intelligence or talent, it's simply active, consistent hours.
Yes, that's the key point of this whole episode, honestly.
So, remember, when you think about your fluency timeline, don't just count years, count real, active hours.
Not complicated at all, right?
Not at all once you understand the logic behind it.
Okay, now let's move to our second key point, and this one is just as important as the first.
Yes, because the 600-hour number is just an average. Your personal timeline depends on several very real factors.
Let's go through them one by one. Factor number 1 is your starting point, meaning what level you're at right now.
Right. Someone at a true beginner level, an A1 level, needs more total hours than someone who already understands basic grammar and vocabulary.
Factor number 2 is your native language. If your first language shares vocabulary or grammar patterns with English, you'll likely move faster.
For example, a Spanish speaker often picks up English vocabulary faster than a speaker whose language has a completely different structure.
That doesn't mean it's impossible for anyone. It just changes the pace slightly.
Factor number 3, and I think this is the biggest one, is consistency versus intensity.
Explain that a bit more.
Sure, studying for 5 hours on one Sunday and then doing nothing all week is far less effective than studying for 30 minutes every single day.
Because your brain needs regular, spaced repetition to actually move information into long-term memory.
Exactly. Little and often beats occasional and intense almost every time.
Factor number 4 is how much you actually speak, not just study silently.
This is huge. Imagine you're preparing for a driving test.
Okay, I'm with you.
You could read the driving manual every day for a year, but if you never actually sit behind the wheel, you still won't know how to drive.
In this situation, speaking practice is literally the driving practice of language learning.
And notice how so many learners skip this part because speaking feels scary or embarrassing?
Yes, but that fear is exactly what slows the timeline down the most.
So remember, when you want to speed up your fluency timeline, prioritize speaking time, not just studying grammar silently.
Factor number 5, and the last one, is your environment and exposure.
Someone living in an English-speaking country surrounded by the language daily will naturally progress faster than someone studying only 30 minutes a day at home.
But don't worry if you don't live in an English-speaking country, you can still create that environment through movies, podcasts, and conversation partners.
Exactly. Environment isn't only about geography, it's about how much English touches your daily life.
Let me give one more practical example here because I think it really helps people visualize this.
Go for it.
Imagine 2 learners with the exact same starting level. Learner A only opens an English textbook for 30 minutes on Sundays.
And learner B changes their phone language to English, listens to a 10-minute podcast every morning, and writes 3 sentences in a journal every night.
Even though learner B is only spending maybe 25 minutes a day, that consistent, small exposure adds up to far more real hours over a year than learner A's occasional Sunday study session.
And notice how learner B isn't doing anything extreme or exhausting. It's just small, steady habits woven into daily life.
That's really the secret behind most fast learners. It's not talent, it's environment plus consistency working together.
So if you take away one thing from this section, let it be this. You can build an English environment almost anywhere in the world, using your phone, your commute, even your kitchen while cooking.
All right, Jessica. Now let's talk about the common mistakes people make around this whole fluency timeline topic.
Yes, because these misunderstandings are honestly what cause the most frustration and quitting.
Mistake number 1, believing in the 30-day fluency promise.
Oh, I hear this all the time from ads and videos online.
The truth is, you can absolutely learn useful phrases and basic conversation in 30 days, but full fluency in 30 days simply isn't realistic for almost anyone.
And why does that matter? Because when people believe that promise and then don't reach it, they think something is wrong with them.
When really the promise itself was just marketing, not truth.
Mistake number 2, comparing your timeline to someone else's.
This one is so common and so unfair to yourself.
The fix here is simple. Your friend might have more free time, more exposure, or a language closer to English. Your journey is your own.
Comparison steals motivation. It doesn't create it.
Mistake number 3. Thinking mistakes mean you're not progressing.
Many learners think this is true, but actually making mistakes while speaking is proof that you're actively using the language, which is exactly how fluency is built.
The right mindset is mistakes are data, not failure.
So the real timeline isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about how many real active hours you put in.
Now, if you've made any of these mistakes in your own thinking, honestly, don't panic.
Every single learner listening right now has believed at least one of these myths.
The important thing is recognizing it and moving forward with a clearer, more honest plan.
Exactly. Silence and self-doubt slow you down far more than any grammar mistake ever could.
There's actually one more mistake I want to add. Mistake number 4, thinking you need to move to an English-speaking country to become fluent.
Oh, that's such a common belief, and it's just not true anymore, especially with how much content is available online.
Of course, living abroad helps, but plenty of learners reach strong fluency entirely from home through consistent listening, speaking practice online, and daily exposure.
So the real requirement isn't geography, it's consistent, active engagement with the language, wherever you happen to be.
That's such an important point because so many learners use "I can't move abroad" as a reason to give up before they even start.
Okay, before we build our final roadmap, let's do a quick mini question and answer, based on things our listeners often ask us.
Love this idea. First question, can I become fluent just by watching movies?
Honestly, watching alone helps your listening and vocabulary a lot, but without speaking practice, your output, meaning your actual speaking ability, will lag behind.
So the honest answer is, movies are a great supporting tool, but they shouldn't be your only tool.
Second question, is it too late for me to start at my age?
Absolutely not. Adults actually learn grammar and structure faster than children in many ways, because we already understand how language works.
Children mainly win on pronunciation and accent over a very long time frame, but for everyday fluency, age is rarely the real barrier.
Third question, and this one comes up a lot. What if I plateau and stop improving?
Plateaus are completely normal, and honestly, they usually mean you need to change your method, not give up.
If listening got easy, add harder content. If speaking feels stuck, add a new conversation partner or a new topic.
A plateau is your brain telling you it's ready for the next challenge, not a sign to quit.
Okay, let's put everything together now and make this really practical for you.
Yes, let's build an honest, simple roadmap.
Imagine you're a learner starting from a true beginner level, and your goal is comfortable, confident conversation, not perfection.
What would a realistic path look like?
First, in the early months, focus on core vocabulary and simple sentence structure, along with lots of listening practice, even if you don't understand everything yet.
Then, once you have a basic foundation, shift your focus towards speaking practice. Even simple 5-minute conversations count.
And finally, as you approach that 600-plus hour mark, focus on natural conversation, real content like podcasts and shows, and expressing more complex ideas.
See how that sounds like a real journey, not just a magic trick?
This is the honest path, not the flashy advertisement version.
Let's actually break it down month by month, just to make it feel even more concrete.
I love this idea. Okay, so months 1 through 3 focus almost entirely on foundation, core vocabulary, basic sentence structure, and daily listening.
Months 4 through 8 start mixing in real speaking practice, even short conversations, plus reading simple articles or graded readers.
Months 9 through 15, this is where you push into more natural content, podcasts like this one, TV shows, and longer conversations with real people.
And somewhere around month 18 to 30, depending on your consistency, you start reaching that comfortable B1 to B2 conversational stage we talked about.
Of course, these numbers shift depending on your hours per day, but this gives you a real, honest map instead of just a vague promise.
Exactly. And notice there's no shortcut hiding in here, just a clear, doable plan.
Let's also give a quick example of what a realistic single week could look like, just so this feels even more usable.
Great idea. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, spend 20 minutes on focused vocabulary and grammar practice.
Tuesday and Thursday, spend 20 minutes listening to a podcast or short video, ideally something slightly challenging but still understandable. Saturday, have one real conversation, even 15 minutes with a partner, a tutor, or even practicing out loud alone.
And Sunday, light review, maybe rereading your notes or journal entries from the week. No new material, just gentle reinforcement.
That's roughly 2 hours a week, which sounds small, but stacked consistently over 2 to 3 years, it adds up to real, lasting fluency.
And of course, if you have more time, you can speed this up significantly. Remember, it's the active hours that truly matter most.
Now, everyone listening, here's something simple you can do right after this episode.
Calculate roughly how many active hours you're currently putting into English each week.
Even if it's small, even 15 minutes a day, write it down.
Because awareness is the very first step toward a faster, more honest timeline.
And if some weeks are slower than others, that's completely normal.
Progress isn't a straight line. It's more like a slowly climbing wave.
One more practical tip before we wrap up. Try tracking your progress every few weeks, not every single day.
Why every few weeks specifically?
Because day to day, progress is basically invisible, but over a few weeks, you'll actually notice real change, like understanding a podcast a little faster or finding a word without pausing.
That's such a good point. Daily progress checking usually just creates anxiety, since the brain needs time to actually absorb what you've practiced.
Exactly. So maybe keep a simple note on your phone, and every 2 or 3 weeks, write down one thing that felt easier than before.
Over a year, that little list becomes real proof of your honest timeline in action.
And that proof matters, because motivation naturally rises and falls, but evidence of real progress keeps you going even on the low motivation days.
I also want to mention, don't forget to celebrate small wins along the way, not just the big finish line.
Right. Understanding one extra sentence in a movie without subtitles, or having a 5-minute conversation without freezing, those are genuine victories.
Too many learners only feel proud when they reach some faraway, perfect version of fluency, and that mindset makes the whole journey feel heavier than it needs to be.
So celebrate the small stuff. It keeps the whole process enjoyable, and an enjoyable process is a process you'll actually stick with.
And sticking with it, more than anything else we've talked about today, is really the true secret to an honest, achievable timeline.
All right, let's quickly review everything we talked about today.
First, we learned that fluency isn't one single moment. It's a gradual process that gets brighter over time.
Then we talked about the 600 to 750-hour research-based benchmark for conversational comfort.
We also covered the 5 big factors that change your personal timeline: your starting point, your native language, your consistency, your speaking practice, and your environment.
And we busted some common myths, like the 30-day fluency promise, the idea that mistakes mean you're failing, and the belief that you have to move abroad to succeed.
We even walked through a sample weekly plan and a month-by-month roadmap, so you have something real to actually follow starting today. Most importantly, we built a simple, honest roadmap you can actually follow.
Remember, you don't need to be perfect.
You just need to be consistent and, honestly, a little bit patient with yourself.
English is a tool for connection, not a test you either pass or fail.
So keep showing up, keep speaking, keep listening, even when it feels slow.
That's the real journey to fluency.
If this episode gave you a clearer, more honest picture today, please hit that like button.
And if you want more real, honest English conversations like this one, subscribe to A1 English Podcast.
We upload new episodes regularly to help you improve your English naturally, one honest step at a time.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today.
Keep practicing, keep showing up for yourself.
Bye, everyone.